Folks, this week on the Prereal podcast, we're joined by Joshua Smith. For those of you not familiar, Josh is the host of the GSD podcast, GSD Mode, Perfect Storm software. He's an absolute beast of a agent, coach, consultant, broker, named one of the top 30 agents in America by the Wall Street Journal. His team has transacted over 7,000 homes and $2 billion in real estate. He has built an all-in-one comprehensive CRM and mentorship program. As an owner of a real estate business, I could tell you it was an absolute pleasure to sit and chat with him. A lot of great information. Joshua Smith from GSD this week, guys.
Are you ready to bring your real estate game to the next level? My name is James Prendamano. I'm the CEO and founder of Prereal, and over the past 25 years, I've closed over $1 billion in transactional real estate. Each week, I'm meeting with outstanding investors, high-performing individuals, and visionaries operating in the real estate space. These are the people that are actually out there in the real estate game right now getting it done. This podcast aims at bringing anyone's game to the next level. This is the Prereal Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Prereal Podcast. We've got a kindred spirit of mine on today, Joshua Smith. We are extremely excited. He is the host of the GSD podcast. He's the founder of the Real Estate Mastery Bootcamp coaching program and the Perfect Storm software. He's an absolute beast deal maker, visionary. Really excited to have you on the show with us today, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited for this, and it's an honor to be here with you.
Yeah, man. So look, let's talk to the audience quick a little bit about background. You didn't wake up one day and just have, all of these systems and tools and this vision in place. Can you talk the audience a little bit through how you got into real estate and what that first year was like, although you had a killer first year?
Yeah. I like real estate was never supposed to be the journey, man, for me. I grew up in the health club industry. My dad owned and operated gyms for 30 years. He retired and sold the gyms that he had owned right when I was finishing high school. And I stayed in that industry, though. And at the age of 23, I made the realization that, look, if I'm going to make good money in this business and be able to hit my financial goals, I got to get into ownership. Well, at that point, I'm a college dropout, $1,000 to my name, and the facility I wanted to go out there and create was going to cost about $800,000 at that time. So nobody was going to give me a loan. So then I was like, okay, I need to go bank some capital, man. And I'm like, dude, I love people. I love sales. I love working my ass off. This was 2005. Real estate market was just insane as ever. So I'll just jump into real estate, go out there and sell a shit ton of homes and raise the capital that I need, at least enough for a down payment, create the facility that I want to create. And I always say that very quickly, health and fitness became my passion. Real estate became my obsession. I just saw so many more opportunities, with the real estate business. But it took a few years before, I hit that discovery. But first year, one of the things that I did that really helped me. Well, number one, I had the sales and business background. When your parents are entrepreneurs and you get to see the back end and you're used to watching that work ethic and seeing how businesses were ran, and I started selling health club memberships for my dad at the age of 14, so, selling health club memberships, upselling the personal training packages. So, I knew how to go out there and sell. And I had, 9 years of sales experience before, as well as leading teams and whatnot. So when I got into real estate, I was going into real estate school. I was like, okay, look, I need to come up with a strategy because that's what I was lacking. And it became very obvious in real estate school, they don't teach you shit. Right. Yep. So then I just started interviewing, like going out there and interviewing top producers in the market and seeing if they'd let me take them out to lunch and pick their brains. And so then that way, day one, that I started my real estate license, where most people are like, okay, got my license. Now let me figure out the fuck to do. Like I knew exactly what to go out there and execute on. I came up with my strategy. I knew what to do. There's still a lot to figure out, but from a, like when it comes to business, dude, it's like, how am I going to go out there and get business? So that was my focus. And, got my first client in 4 days, sold 48 deals my first year. That led me to hitting a capacity. You and I were talking about this off air, but technology is vastly different today. Like back then it was like, dude, there was no smartphones, there was no scanners, there was none of this stuff. So it took longer to do, do each unit. But, that took me to a capacity. hired my first assistant. After that year, that then, took me to 103 deals, and that led me to starting my team, if you will, and then just kept progressing, from there, to where we're at today.
Why did you make, was there a mentor? Was there a book? Was it just coming up in the sales industry on the health club side? Did you just know that these are things you had to do, or was there other influences that gave you that kind of push?
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of both, right? At that time, dude, I know I'm dating and aging myself here, but there was no YouTube, there was no podcast, and at that time too, teams weren't really a thing,
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty much just people had a job in real estate, right? However, I had developed a lot of teams in health and fitness space. So after my father sold his gyms, I started working for another operation that was growing pretty rapidly, and I was in charge of doing pre-sales for them. So as the TIs were going on, I was in the trailer out there, pre-selling memberships, and it was like, okay, hey, sell X amount of memberships. Then when you have this recurring revenue coming in, okay, then I could hire an assistant. Then we got to the next level, and then I could bring on my first sales guy, then my second guy. So, the goal there for me was to, get the membership base to a certain, standpoint before we open the doors, and then develop the sales team, get out of sales myself, but then oversee the sales team and sales department, and then boom, repeat next location. Right. So, I had a lot of experience with that. And I was like, dude, business is business, sales is sales. Instead of articulating that we're the best facility to help people hit their health and fitness goals, I was just having to articulate that, hey, I'm the best guy to help guide you from your current living situation to the next living situation. Everything else was essentially the exact same shit, So, and then from there, though, one thing that I did do is when I first got my real estate license, I didn't care about splits. I wasn't concerned about any of that. I'm like, let me go find the biggest badass that I possibly can find that I want to aspire to go out there and create their level of success in this industry. And I found it, I found a dude that was one of the top, not just locally, but one of the top in the country. He was the brokerage owner, plus had his own team. So it worked out great because I was able to learn from him, not have to join his own team. Cause I knew, look, I couldn't go out there and just doing quick math. I was like, I can't go out there and earn the income I need to get this down payment flying solo. I'm going to need to delegate. But I was able to, position myself in his umbrella, under his umbrellas, with the brokerage, and then get his guidance and mentorship, because there were quite a lot of questions that I had, right. Of, okay, when I hired this first assistant, I knew I was at a capacity and, needed that first assistant, but what are the best strategic, delegation items to delegate off to that assistant, and whatnot. And he was able to help guide me, through a lot of that stuff as well.
But did you literally take pen to paper and write out kind of a business plan? I need to prospect X amount of people based on an anticipated close rate of Y to generate X revenue in order for me to scale? Or was it just you kind of gripped it and ripped it?
Yeah, no, I mean, in the very beginning, it was, okay, I had my lead gen strategy, my lead follow-up strategy, but what I didn't know was what my conversion rates were going to be. Now I knew the importance of, data and tracking and all of that from the gym business. Cause that was, we ran it as a business, it's funny. A lot of people think of when you work at a gym, it's just, working out and having fun but no, dude, it's there's so many days I didn't even step outside of tours that, you have your KPIs and numbers to hit every single day. And, with that. So, but I didn't know what my numbers were going to be until I had my own sample size of data, so in the beginning, it was just hey, man, I'm going to do as many open houses as humanly possible. So just start off with one a day, but paying attention to that data, okay, hey, is it, 1 out of 20? What are those numbers looking like? So then very quickly it became predictable. But I just my strategy in the beginning was, okay, I'm going to get in the office every day at 5 a.m. Between 5 a.m. and noon, I'm going to get all of my lead follow-up done, all my paperwork done, anything that's kind of busy office work stuff that I need to get done. And then from noon to 7 p.m. every single day was going to be pounding the pavement time. Now, of course, I had what those buckets were going to be for pounding the pavement, but if I couldn't get an open house, it wasn't, oh, let me just go twiddle my fucking thumbs. It was, okay, well, here were the backup activities that I had in place. So like, dude, Home Depot parking lot, man, like I cleaned house, just going out there and hand it, I was like, okay, hey, I don't have an open house here. I'm going to go, like, if what's that backup strategy? Okay, I'm going to go to Home Depot parking lot, hand out at least 100 cards and have 100 conversations. Okay, if that wasn't a place, like, what's that next thing? What's that next thing? So I always had kind of reserves, but then it gets quickly, you start getting really busy. Well, then it takes away from your ability to be able to do those things. So I'm like, okay, like, in order for me to continue to scale, I've got to be able to focus on more money-making activities. So that's at the point where I knew I needed to hire that assistant.
Where did technology and disruption and CRM, where did that start to become either a pinch point for you, or how did that make its way into your world? And now you own essentially a software company. Where did that start to bump up against your progress?
Yeah, I mean, the CRM was very fast for me, man. Now, I couldn't afford one in the beginning, because when I jumped into this industry, dude, like, I just burn the boats, burn the ships. Like, I was doing credit card cash advances just to make it. Now I was 23 years old, not married, no kids. So, today at 41 with 3 kids, like, I have to, allocate risk differently today. But at that time in my life, it was like a time I could be risky. So I went and talked to one of the local title companies into paying for my CRM. Now, I don't know if they can do that now today with RESPA laws, but RESPA is a lot more relaxed, back then. But it was like, at the time, I don't know, $15 a month. It was Wise Agent, and that's, where I started. Because again, just from my, history of sales and so much prospecting and follow-up, I just knew the importance of it. So fortune is in the follow-up, man. It's just how it goes, dude. And working on those skill sets. So right out of the gate, I started with the CRM. And then, that expanded, because then it was like, and I don't know what the capabilities are today, but at that point it was okay. It was good enough for me to manage my business. But then when I started my team, it created some complexities that, we needed to upgrade that system, then upgrade to the next. But I would say, so CRM's always been an important component. And look, dude, like, I don't care if I have to use spreadsheets for a CRM. It's just you got to have something, where you can keep these. And if you need to use Google Sheets to start there, just start there. But, technology started really becoming huge in about 2012, 2013, and for me, where that really came apart as far as like, really getting into digital marketing, was I was spending an insane amount of money with, when I say insane, I guess it wasn't too much. It was about 15 grand a month between, Zillow and Trulia.
Yeah.
And our ROI was really good at the time. Right. But then all of a sudden, one day I come in the office and they're like, look, man, we decided to change the way that we bill. They used to charge us per click. Now they went into this per impressions, and they tried to sell it like it looked pretty. But my cost per lead went from like $14 to $47 per lead overnight. And I realized at that point of like, holy shit, dude, I'm very vulnerable here. So at that point, I committed to never relying on third parties to generate my business for me. So then I was like, okay, let me go out there and master Google pay-per-click. Let me go out there. Now that's been replaced with Facebook and YouTube and other things. Not that Google pay-per-click isn't effective, but I get a much better ROI in other spots, now I still, we still do Zillow today. They only have Zillow Flex in our market today, but I'm not going to allow myself to be reliant on those, so then at that point it was, continuing, like, dude, we got to be able to go out there and fish, man.
Let's talk about get shit done mode. Talk about the brand. What are you offering? What are some of the things you're most excited about?
Yeah, dude. So, the podcast started where, I with the successes that I was having in my real estate business, I very quickly got to the point where people were reaching out to me to allow them to take me out to lunch to pick my brain. Right. And I'm one that, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have so many amazing people that were willing to share advice and pour into me at a point where there was nothing that I could do to add value to their life, and they chose to add value to mine. So I've always felt a kind of a deep, obligation to go out there and repay that, pay it forward, if you will, or however you want to look at that, with that. So, but then it got to a point where, man, my growth just kept accelerating. but also, more awards, more accolades, more people reaching out. And I just got to the point where I couldn't sustain it. It was like, dude, I had to make a decision of, like it was hard enough just getting all my work done and seeing my family on a daily basis. And I just couldn't respond and go out there and do all these things with all these people. So then I, just started saying, okay, hey man, just send me your question. I can't have you take me out to lunch, but do this. Send me your question. I'll record a video. I'll toss it on YouTube. Now you can have it. You can have it forever. You can keep watching it. And then it might help out other people. So before I actually started GSD Mode podcast, I released hundreds of videos of doing this. And, that then just led into, other things, man, where I started liking creating the content. And, so I just started to, then, hey, let me turn this podcast into a thing, so about 8 years ago, I launched the GSD Mode podcast, the Get Shit Done Mode podcast, where, the focus is, real estate entrepreneurship and health and fitness. So kind of, 3 focuses there. And that led into other things too, right? It was okay after about 10 years of building my own real estate business. I got to the point where I built it into a true business, or what I deemed to be a true business, meaning I was able to exit from production operations. I replaced myself with the CEO. So now here I am. I'm used to working 80 hours a week, and now I'm not working on board. Like, what the hell else am I going to do? Well, at that time, dude, I had so many people, reaching out, asking if I'd coach them. And it was just always, nah, dude, I'm busy building my own business. So then I'm like, okay, what's that next move I'm going to make? Well, man, I love work. I love the B2B side of this business. I'm damn good at it. There's demand there. So let me start a coaching business, so then I launched that is my next thing. And then as I start doing the coaching business, I have an abundance of real estate professionals reaching out to me saying, hey, I want to use the systems and the software that you use, but man, I can't afford the $1,500 a month systems. So I went out there and trying to solve their problems. I realized, man, nothing's been created for the individual agent out there that's affordable. That's an all-in-one system. I couldn't find, I didn't want to, I never planned on getting into software. But again, it didn't exist out there. There was demand. And it's something that I was, good at. So went out there and created my own software company. In the beginning, it was, just an individual agent product. Now it's morphed. We have, brokerages with hundreds of agents that are using our platform. So it's, individual agent, team leader, and broker owner, but that came out of demand too. It wasn't necessarily intentional. Right. And then that's led into other things, franchising, other things that we're now doing today. I don't know if that answers your question. I kind of forgot what your original question is, but that's what we're up to now today.
Yeah, the original question was about the brand and what are we doing in the brand? So that directly answers it. The CRM piece really jumped out at me because this is something that we have struggled with since Jump Street. I started in the business in the 90s, the late 90s, and the difference between a workflow today and a workflow back then, it could not be more opposite. I didn't grow up with an iPhone in my hand, but I had the benefit of learning the old school tactics and coming up through the tech piece where I was still young enough to kind of adapt and listen and learn. And I love that you're solving for what to me has been the biggest challenge is the CRMs. There are so many programs, and it's painfully obvious that they're built by programmers that don't have practical experience in the day of an agent. Yeah. Right? There's so many things you got to click and add and subtract and file and note and reminders that all of those things are essential, by the way, but a real estate mind thinks differently than a programmer's mind. And it felt like all of the platforms, even the best platforms, were built by a programmer without the influence of a master deal maker like yourself.
Yeah. And the great part about it is, like I'm, not just the owner of the company, I'm also our biggest client, yeah. So it's like, like we're using it every single day to build our businesses. So, we're seeing, okay, where the improvement pieces need to be. And, and to your point, man, it's like, other CRMs I've used in the past, it's like, man, it would take me 3 or 4 times longer to clear out my daily task queue, just because of a simple, setup of, hey, like, let me have this contact record. I can do everything in that contact record. I can see the task. I can update the task, do what I need to do, and then just click a button to go to the next. You know, it's like every other city, like I had to back out, go into here, go into here, and just those little tiny things that people don't understand unless you're in it, you know, day in and day out. And, you know, and our focus has been, you know, because one of my issues with systems is next thing you know, you got 10 different systems. You know, and there's really no truly all-in-one system, you know. So I'm like, man, let's build a system where we can do everything inside that system, where we can, you know, manage and work all of our transactions. We can, you know, have our CM work all of our leads, all of our clients, all of our past clients, all of our sphere of influence, you know, plus manage our websites and all our digital marketing, you know, so front end, back end, you know, all of that. And with today's era that we're in this digital landscape, dude, it's so important to, you know that tracking component. You know, so it's like not only do I know that this came in from a Facebook ad or a YouTube, you know, ad or whatever, I can know exactly which specific ad, which specific video, you know, all of that becomes so important, this digital marketing landscape, to maximize cost per acquisition.
Where can people learn the most? Do you have like all of the coaching and the CRM? Is that all available for people in one spot?
Yeah. They can go to gsdmode.com, which is the hub, you know, right, where the, you know, access to where the podcast is at, which we have about 3,000 or so, you know, podcast releases over the years. A lot of free resources on there too. But then if they want to check out Perfect Storm, you know, they can, you know, do that right there on the site, or go to perfectstormdemo.com and check out, learn more about the coaching on there. Yeah. And one thing to your point of the CRM is I look at it a lot, like my experience in the gym business has helped a lot with a lot of this business, man. Of, you know, it's like, look, you go into this gym, you want to get in shape, you go into this gym, it's an amazing facility, it's got all the things that you need inside there, you know, but you don't know how to use the equipment, you don't know the right strategy to deploy, you know. So, you know, one thing that we found, because I'm gonna say, like, dude, like sometimes it takes, you know, a few runs at it to get it right, you know. In the very beginning, man, we had very high churn. And I was like, well, why are we having this high churn? Well, I realized, dude, it's like, it doesn't matter how good the system is if people don't know exactly how to use the system, you know. So then from there, I got really intentional of, okay, I'm already doing all this stuff in my business, like all, you know, having all the campaigns, you know, pre-built out. I mean, all my 1,000-day email text strips, and for all these different detours, I'm like, yeah, I've already spent, you know, years and years and years split testing these in the best messaging campaigns. Let me figure out a way to get these all built in the system where any of our clients can just adopt them if they choose to, you know. But then from there, you know, realize that, again, it's not just about providing the tech. It's like, dude, if you don't have the training and coaching component along with that, you know, so like each one of our clients, it's like, okay, like making sure everything's set up the way they need it for their business. So, you know, very hands-on and making sure they have all the right campaigns in place. They have all the right, you know, everything's set up. So now they can just get in there and start using it and know how to utilize it, you know. But then, you know, ongoing, you know, we do, you know, like I personally do, you know, 2 hours of weekly live training, you know, where everybody has access to me. Like all of our customers have direct access to me, you know. So I found that if you don't have that kind of coaching and training component, you know, along with the software, it's like, it just, man, you know, why was churn high, right? Because people weren't having success with it, you know, right? So if we, you know, missing, you know, now our churn's very low, you know, because of those factors.
So the attrition rates on even the quote unquote best platforms out there are astronomical because people don't have that support. It's very frustrating when you don't have that other side of it to teach you how to use the platform. So are you guys coaching, and is your platform built for a newbie or someone that's kind of hit capacity and looking for scale, brokers, everyone in between?
All of the above, man. You know, we have, you know, so if you look at like, okay, my whole entire business, my real estate business operates on that system. There's 114 of us, and that's a combination of agents and recruiters and admin and managers, you know. So whether you're an individual agent, we've structured our pricing for that too. You know, we're about a fifth of the cost of our, you know, competitors out there, you know, when it comes to that, but it's a, you know, a charge per seat, and there's a cap with that, you know. You know, I can't tell you how many clients that we have come on that were paying $2,500 a month for this system. Our system's only $199 a month, you know, but then it's, you know, $25 for each agent user that they add. Admin are all free, you know, for that. So yeah, I mean, it can be whatever level that you're at, man. It's you know, because that's important, man. You got to be able to, because that was one of the frustrations I had was, okay, this system would work good, But then I got to the next level. Well, then I'd have to keep upgrading my systems because it no longer worked. It's like, okay, you need systems that you can grow with, inside your business, and then the cool part too is with our clients, I'm able to give them guidance on, how to go out there and grow their brokerage, how to go out there and grow their teams. And, they have daily access to me. So
that's probably the biggest challenge is scaling the right way. And I love the idea that the system is built to allow you to go through those processes from literally a newbie all the way up through, if anyone's hitting your levels, I think that, let that be their biggest complaint, right? So, look, man, this has been a great conversation. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on. You're an inspiration. The podcast rocks. It's absolutely outstanding. Packed, folks, with great info. Best place for people to find everything. We're going to point them to gsdmode.com.
Yep. gsdmode.com. That's kind of the hub, or you can find me, whether it's YouTube, any social media platform, just Joshua Smith GSD. So, or you can just Google links. Joshua Smith GSD. You'll find me everywhere. So,
yeah, all the links always, folks, will be down below in the show notes. Man, I really appreciate the time. This was great.
Yeah, it's been an honor, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Be well.
All right.
As always, folks, please stay safe.